OptixEQ, and today I'm going to cover race 3 from Churchill, the video race of the day, instead of just a write-up. I thought it'd be good to kind of just separate this and kind of see it to be a little bit more interactive. So today I'm looking at a race 3. Again, not an exciting race, but these races are in contests. They're in pick fives and pick fours, so you have to look at these races sometimes and decide what you want to do. In this case, I'm looking at the number 6, uh, Gunza. And this horse, if you look at his uh, last running line, you see the keyword kickback. It's a very important keyword. It's green. And what that means is when you see a green keyword is that the horse probably didn't get a chance to run its most optimal race, and we're looking for the horse to improve. And a kickback is a very kind of subtle one because a lot of people don't know what to look for when they're looking at this. Sometimes, kickback, if a horse getting the dirt in his chest or arms, it doesn't impact him as when he gets it in his face. And some horses react differently to it. And it depends how loose the track is and how bad the kickback is. Kickback is when the dirt or turf flies back into the horse's face. Um, and so in the case of Gunza, what happened was he was on the back. It was kind of close up early on, not too far off the pace. And then he started getting this kickback that really kind of affected him, and it actually made him lose his action. So he was kind of just lost rhythm, and he dropped way back, and he kind of was even paced after that. So I think that really impacted his performance. So we're looking for a big improve, especially with the drop from maiden 30 at Keeneland to maiden 15 at Churchill. So I just wanted to go to the grid and just let's take a little closer look at Gunsta. And you could see in his debut, he ran 2 turns on the grass. He had a little bit of trouble in that race also at the maiden special weight. Again, that was Ellis, a little bit different, but that was as a 2-year-old. So you could project, that the horse is going to even be higher than that just from an age progression, right? As horses get older, they improve in their figures and so forth. But then they tried him at 30,000. When they scratched him out of that race, they were going to try him for 30,000. They were going to drop him in either drop him into a tag and see what he would do. And then eventually he kind of disappeared. He ends up with a new trainer, 448-day layoff, and he has this race at Keeneland that we talked about. Now he's back. This is his second race off a layoff. He's getting another drop. And if you look at the race he comes out of, when you could really compare that race to some of these other races, and I'm not going to go through the comparison of all the races, but I looked at them. But the horses that came out of his race did, fairly well, especially comparatively. The winner came back versus winners, didn't run as well, but comparable speed figure, optics figure of 81 versus 83, kind of showed speed and faded. There was another horse in that race that actually went up in class from a maiden 30 to maiden 75 at Churchill and improved the figure by 16 points after a slow start. Ran a third, kind of similar third, but a much improved figure. So that's kind of a good sign. And then the other horse who also made the Keeneland Churchill transition didn't run as well, but there's some excuse there. It was a sloppy track, and this horse was against the flow that day. So all in all, when you really compare the figures of this race, of the race this horse was in, and how they came back versus the others, it's pretty significant. And if you look, I'm just going to go back to the field here. If you look at the figures here, like I would say, the most current 45 days, that's the kind of the form cycle these horses are in, like the last 45 days, you see that 61 doesn't really look all that bad. And like you said, if we expect improvement with the drop in class and the no kickback, then you can see this horse really stepping up and having a real chance. And again, his morning line is 12-1. The one horse that we'll have to consider is the favorite because his last race was 48 days ago, so he missed that filter. But this horse has really got some troubling form, and I'll tell you why. He's 45 in the morning line. He started his career fairgrounds, Oaklawn, he ran in the mid 70s, and he just wasn't going to get it done. So they dropped him in for 30 after 2 consecutive, I would say, roughly 8-month layoffs. And then eventually at the 30,000 level, he runs his biggest race, an 87 and a B. So you say, wow, okay, this horse has kind of found his level. They raise him up, but it's not really a raise because this is at Ellis Park, but they sprint him on the turf, which was kind of a little surprising because he kind of never did that. Runs a 6th, and then the next time he runs back is sprinting in for 20,000 after another layoff. So you see, every one of his races back since 2020, the end of November, November 11th, he's had a layoff after his run. So obviously, there's something probably physically up with this horse that he runs and he lays off, and then the fact that he's dropping again is a little worrisome. Okay, so this is a horse that you want to kind of be a little bit weary of. And if you look at his, even though he's got a big, huge optics figure advantage over these horses, and if you look at the plot, he has an advantage. But every time he kind of runs in that mid 80s range, he regresses. Around the 85 in debuts, 78 came back the second race, 87 that race we talked about his best rate to date. Again, a regression. You run another 87, another drop. So I'm projecting a regression again with this horse just because I just don't think this horse is completely sound, or he wouldn't be in for this level. Um, so that's my concern with this horse. So if he drops back in the mid 70s, and our 6 that we talked about has that major improvement with the switch, with the drop down and the change in surface, the kickback, we're expecting a big improvement. So all in all, if you look at some of the others contenders, they just haven't been able to get it done. They've had so many chances at this level and have just run poorly and with kind of low speed figures. So in this race, I'm thinking that if you want to take a chance, and here's the plot. You see the 4 has an advantage, but you notice the 6 um, is pretty prominent in quadrant 1 in the surface and distance plot. So when you look at his run lines, you say, wow, you don't think he would even be plot that well. So he's definitely a contender in here. 12-1 in the morning line. If you're playing contests or something, he might be a good horse to take a chance with, especially if the favorite looks overwhelming, and he's maybe, even if this horse runs second, he could probably win that race. So anyway, for us, it's Gunza going to show an improved effort here in race 3 at Churchill.